3 hours later, this SNTIC meeting concludes here at UNLV. We talked about the proposed Raiders Stadium actually would be the home of the Rebels and the Raiders. $750 million public contribution required in terms of a hotel room tax. It's Groundhog Day. That's what it feels like. Ed Graney of the Review-Journal joins me here. It feels like we go over the same issues meeting after meeting. This has dragged on since April, and I'm not sure how much progress has been made. Ed, what did you feel like was accomplished today?
It feels like they're actually looking for things now weekly to bring up. I think it's pretty hard facts that it's going to be $750 million if this goes forward. There's no return on investment for the public, except, of course, as the Sands people say, the tourism, the tax dollars, the employment for people who will build the stadium and run it. Those are advantages they say for the public. And then there's obviously this 39% threshold that they don't want because they want the $750 to be capped right there. I think those are the three issues. I think they're going to get by them, and I think next week at this time they're going to make a recommendation. Mayor Goodman at the end of that meeting called for a vote. It wasn't on the agenda, so they couldn't vote. At this point, I think they're just ready to bring it to the legislature, and as I think you agree, there some things could happen. But as far as this committee, I think it's going forward.
Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity for the city in a lot of ways. You talk about it's not just a Raiders stadium. It's something that's going to be there for the Rebels, for concerts, for soccer, for big events. It is something that could transform the city in terms of the sports landscape. And really, when you look at it, what is the public contribution? Because it's not something that's really paid for by the locals. It is, in general, paid for by tourists.
It's paid for by tourists. And I think if the Raiders come, you can make the argument that there's going to be a lot more Southwest Airlines flights flying over our heads, as one just did. I mean, the Raiders are a team that draws fans on the road, and I think that's what the stadium people will hope for. They want 46 events a year. You and I don't think they can get 46 in the first year. I don't. Maybe they can get 30. But you can get soccer. If the NCAA comes off its antiquated version of gambling, you can get a Final Four here. You can get concerts. I mean, our good friend at the RJ, Steve Karp, huge Bruce Springsteen fan. Bruce Springsteen could play the stadium 5 straight nights. I mean, things like that can bring tourism and hotel dollars and hotel rooms to be filled into this city. And I think that's the people that, this is the argument of the people building the stadium. We're going to bring 30, at one point 46 events in the future to this city, and it's going to create a lot of revenue streams for people here who work here, and we'll get jobs and who will run the stadium.
All right, Ed, this has gone on for months, and I think we're going to see a conclusion, like you said, where it's going to be forwarded to the Nevada State Legislature in about a week. You feel pretty confident in that?
I think next week at this time they have come up with a recommendation to bring to the governor, who will call a special session to the legislature. At that point, I think a much larger hurdle comes into focus of what the legislature will do. I know you're in agreement with me. You never know about the people up north in terms of politics. You don't know about their feelings about Vegas or helping UNLV in any way. I mean, that stuff comes into it. So I think while the recommendation's going to be made, this journey is not over. I think the stadium people have a challenge now to go forward and to convince the legislature to pass this. If we're in San Diego and you needed a 64% public vote, it would never happen. 2/3 in the legislature, I think, will be tough, but I do think it'll go through.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like it's going to be easier to get this by the NFL owners. They're going to be quicker to approve it than the Nevada State Legislature will be. And I think we both agree that if it's just difficult to get this passed in Nevada, that the San Diego Chargers are probably going to be the LA Chargers or something like that pretty soon. I can't see much of a future for the Chargers in their stadium situation in San Diego.
No way. I lived in San Diego for 20 years. I can tell you this. If they were voting on a soccer team, you might get 64%. Yeah. An NFL team, you're not getting 64%, if that's what it is. They might be able to get 50%, but not 64%. And you're right. I think Jerry Jones, Bob Kraft, the powerful owners in the NFL that are behind this stadium for the Raiders, they're going to get Mark Davis the votes. I think that you're exactly right, which is ironic. I think the NFL vote might be easier than getting 2/3 of the legislature.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right, that's a wrap-up from the SNTIC at UNLV.